Hello, this is the TradeSite Forex Market Preview and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday the 30th of September, so the end of the third quarter, and ending Friday the 5th of October 2018. Here's a look at the dollar index daily chart, right in the middle of where it's been for months now. Really a slow, not just summer. I mean, summer's often slow, but this is bad. I mean, this is where we were at Memorial Day and before, and we're 4 months later, 5 months later now. So it's been very light. Let's go through the major indices on the daily charts. Then we'll look at the intra-week action, and then we'll talk about the data coming out in the week ahead. Euro dollar in the inverse of the dollar index, exactly as it has been for a while. The pound dollar, again, also sitting where it was 4 months ago or so. Aussie dollar near the lows, didn't do much this last week. Euro yen also didn't do much this last week. Pound yen also didn't do much this last week. Pound Swiss up a little bit. The New Zealand dollar also didn't do much this last week. All right, 30-minute charts. High to low for the week on the euro dollar is it's about 220 pips, but notice that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday were really boring. You got the Fed announcement on Wednesday. Thursday was a dip, and Friday went a little bit lower. So 3 days of boredom and then some action. On the pound dollar, high to low for the week, also 220 pips. A little more action each day except for Tuesday and Wednesday with the Fed meeting. We're pretty slow. It is what it is, but there's nothing there on these charts technically that leads us to any kind of signal, so none of that matters. We just have to trade whatever the market puts in front of us for the week ahead. Let's go through the economic data. So Australia starts out the week on a bank holiday. We've got AIG Manufacturing Index out of Australia, Tankan Manufacturing and Non-Manufacturing Index out of Japan. China's on a bank holiday. Final Manufacturing PMI out of Japan. MI Inflation Gauge out of Australia. German retail sales, Swiss retail sales, Spanish manufacturing PMI, Swiss manufacturing PMI, Italian and French and German and all the broad European sector manufacturing PMI numbers, and then the UK one as well. So all coming out going into Monday. M4 money supply out of the UK. Europe's got their unemployment rate, and the Eurogroup meetings begin. We've got the Fed member speaking, manufacturing PMI also out of Canada, and then the US. Construction spending here. Total vehicle sales here in the US. Monetary base out of Japan, bank holiday out of China, 10-year bond auction out of Japan. We've got a rate announcement out of Australia at 12:30 a.m. Eastern Time going into Tuesday. Consumer confidence out of Japan, nationwide HPI, that's the housing price index out of the UK. Commodity prices out of Australia, Spanish unemployment change, construction PMI out of the UK. PPI out of Europe, GDT price index out of New Zealand, a couple Fed members speaking, AIG services index out of Australia. Got a bank holiday again for China going into Wednesday, building approvals out of Australia. Now we're on to Wednesday here around the globe. German bank holiday, Spanish, Italian, French, German, and the broad European, and then the UK final services PMI numbers. Retail sales out of Europe. Fed member speaks again. We've got the ADP non-farm employment change number at 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time here on Wednesday. Final services PMI here in the U.S. Non-manufacturing PMI, crude oil inventories, that's the weekly number. More Fed members speaking. Bank holiday out of China again. Australian trade balance. Now we're into Thursday. Housing equity withdrawal, 10-year bond auction out of the UK. Spanish and French 10-year bond auction. Challenger job cuts here in the U.S. along with our weekly initial and continuing jobless claims numbers. IV PMI out of Canada, factory orders out of the U.S., natty gas out of the U.S., AIG construction index out of Australia, household spending out of Japan. China goes on bank holiday still. Retail sales and new home sales out of Australia. That takes us into Friday where we've got some bigger data finally. Japan's got their leading indicators. German factory orders and PPI, French government budget balance and trade balance, foreign currency reserves out of Switzerland, the CPI. Halifax HPI out of the UK, Italian retail sales, trade balance and the unemployment rate out of Canada, the unemployment rate and trade balance here in the US. So those are two big numbers. That's two of our big three. So we'll be half size ahead of those, even though we're back to full size now on regular trading. Consumer credit at 3 p.m. on Friday. And then daylight savings time shift in Australia. And over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to get the rest of the world too, changing the clocks over the weekends. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading week in Forex.